Hey there, YouTube. Welcome back to the F.O.B. Dr. Yash here. Just got a quick update for you. Just wanted to show y'all what I've been up to. It has been a few weeks since I did an update, but there's been a lot going on. Been a very busy and eventful last few weeks on the bus and just life in general. Um, it's a busy season for the industry that I'm in, the business that I'm in. So it's has been a lot of juggling going on. But I'm about to flip this camera around, show you what I have gotten done in the bus here. Some of it you won't even be able to see, but it's a lot. It really is. It's a big step. So let me flip this camera, show you what we got going on. Alright, so as you can see, we're back here at the back section. You see the engine compartment there. You can see that it's back, pretty much back together. We got the first ceiling panel in. We got this whole back wall is re-insulated. All this came apart. The back window, the inner frame of it came out. There were voids around the outside of the window frame and beneath the window frame. Those had to be insulated as well. So all that got re-insulated. You can see I still got a little bit of patching to do. I got to make a panel here to cover that up, because that used to be, I'll get you a little closer. We'll turn the flashlight on here, get a little better view. That used to be where the original intake box went. There were louvers right on the other side of that insulation. That is now a solid patch panel. It's flat. I welded that in there. Welded a panel in here. So all this has been removed. All of it's been removed. You can see I got a couple of spots where a buzzer and the child safety, basically, I can't remember what they call the system, but basically it forces the drive. This thing will go off, and it'll force the driver to have to walk all the way back here and push this button, which has him or her checking the bus seats to make sure there's no sleeping children or anything of that nature. But yeah, that's what those two holes are. I got to cover those. I'll just probably find some plastic plugs to go in there. But you can see that's full. That is full of insulation. You can hear how dead it is. And got a little critter in there. That's nice. So I got to take care of that. You can see some of this stuff I started painting. I, for whatever reason, decided it was a good idea to try to start painting it outside. That didn't work too good, because it got baked on by the sun for one day. Then the rain hit it and peeled all the paint off. So that was really sucky. So, but you can see the contrast here, and you can see my dirty fingerprints all over it. But that's the original color in contrast to the lighter gray color that the walls are going to be and what the ceiling is going to look like. Of course, you can see the vapor barrier behind the perforated ceiling panels. That's there to keep the fibers of the insulation from falling through as it settles. It will settle a little bit, but once that's painted, my hope is to actually get as much of that black as possible. You're actually seeing it way more than I can see it, I'll put it that way. So that's not real pretty. You got that white background over the black, so the high contrast is really making it show up a lot on the camera, but it's not nearly as visible in person. However, it's still pretty obvious what's going on there. Yeah, it's like super obvious on the camera. It's way more obvious on the camera than it is in person. I think the black just isn't showing up as much. But you can see how perforated this ceiling really is at this point. So that's actually going to capture some sound, I believe. Not to mention it's already got that rippled texture to it. So that's going to be really interesting. I'm really curious to see what the acoustic environment's going to be, especially once this rubber is actually going to be pulled all the way out. I'm going to be taking that out and doing a more thorough cleaning on it. Going to be cleaning up all this dry rotted foam. And you can compare that to like a headliner foam, and it separates after so many years. Headliner falling down, this rubber basically separated from the inner skin of the engine compartment there. So that's what's happened. Nothing crazy, but I am going to be reusing this rubber piece because it is a thick, heavy rubber mat. It is textured. It is very durable material, so I'm just going to clean it up really good, reuse it, spray new adhesive down, But yeah, to give you a little bit of plans of how the layout's going to be inside this place. There is this is just going to be the rear compartment, and the bedroom area is going to be back here. Eventually, I'm not currently using air conditioning. I am still staying in this, sleeping in this bus out here. And yesterday, I got a report that it was 102 degrees outside, and I've still managed to fight the heat using some fans. I'm sure you can hear them in the background. It's pretty warm in here, but it's doable. Embrace the suck, as some people say, and that's some people's motto they live by. I'm trying it on for size and seeing how it feels. So actually, I'm not even embracing the suck to the fullest extent, but I am making strides in it. So I'm actually enjoying it and getting used to the heat this year. Even as hot of a summer as it is, I'm learning to enjoy it. But this is the back section. This is really all I've gotten to so far. I'll give you a couple of other things that I've done that you can't see. All these warning lights that were on the back, the orange, the amber, and red lights that you normally see on school buses, and the shades that go over them, those have been removed. Patches have been welded in, and all the wiring, you see this wiring here, you see that's fresh tape, because this harness used to be about this thick, where all the wiring was removed. I removed all that wiring. You can see that's the wiring I pulled out of this back section. So all the wiring for the strobes, all the wiring for the warning lights, all the wiring for the Vandalock system, as they call it on these, and all the wiring for basically anything having to do with these safety systems. All these interlocks, it's all been done away with, and we have a much lighter, much simpler electrical system to deal with now. And I have pulled all that wiring all the way back to the main body control modules, the PCBs as they call them, and the Thomas literature and the Freightliner literature, they call them PCBs. That's their main distribution points. Let me flip this camera real quick. Alright, so yeah, I was like, you've seen enough of the back wall. We'll go back to this and I'll kind of point out some things, some features that I've noticed. And these hoops here, you'll see that this, I refer to this thing basically as a big metal hoop house. It's got these C-channel hoops that are, you can see that they have like spot welds and rivets that hold them to the outer skin, sheet metal body here. And this is, I believe, to be stainless. I haven't found a section on one of these hoops that has any rust on it, so I believe they're stainless, or they're a very good quality steel that's had some kind of pretty serious treatment on it to keep it from rusting. What I've done and what I've decided to do, this was actually, we'll say I've got someone with a background in engineering, in the engineering field, who has studied insulation to a great deal, who had suggested that for these hoops and areas that are inaccessible because it's a closed cell foam, and because its R value is roughly 5 to 6 per inch, that I use great stuff foam to fill in these voids here. Yes, you will still have some of the thermal bridging issues that you would have normally, but you don't have, you can at least mitigate for the heat that would be in that airspace, which I think will have some benefit. Not to mention, it actually, I'm thinking because of the way the foam expands inside here, it'll actually expand against this metal outside and it'll make it ring a little less. So it still becomes mostly a solid, so it will still pass some sound through itself, because sound passes through solids better than air and liquid. But I think it actually will still have some beneficial properties in the sound department. So that's going to be just simply because it's going to basically put a little bit of pressure on the sheet metal. I think it'll keep it from vibrating as much, which of course we know that's what sound is, vibrations. So to give you an idea, of course you'll hear the vapor barrier. To give you an idea of how dead some of these panels sound in comparison to how they were before, here is a sheet metal panel with rock wool behind it. Here's a sheet metal panel on the wall that has the polyfill batting type insulation behind it. Right? That's a big difference. So in the ceiling, you will have, of course, the sound's not going to be knocking on the panel, but you'll still be able to hear the vapor barrier when I knock on it. But all you hear is the vapor barrier. You get a thump thump. But if I go over here, it rings. You can hear that sheet metal sound. It's tinny, whatever you want to call it. So to me, that's a night and day difference between the solid panels and the perforated panels that have the insulation behind them. Also around the window in the back here, this back window, and there's a channel that runs along the bottom. All that was completely uninsulated and is now filled with the great stuff, which is going to have an R value, because it's 2 inches. You know, it's going to have somewhere in the R11 to R12 range there instead of R0, or possibly even negative, because it was just metal and metal and then an airspace between it. So you have like this superheated air chamber inside there. So there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that I've been able to, a lot of really breaches in the insulation that I've been able to shore up here and to mend and close. So even if I wasn't using better insulation, orders of magnitude better quality insulation than originally used in this, even just filling in these voids in the body would probably make a benefit overall to the climate inside here. So once I do decide that I've thickened my skin enough, or I've added enough discipline to myself in the area of dealing with the heat, and I do decide to add an air conditioner to here, it will just operate that much more efficiently. So I think another thing that's going to make a big difference is once curtains are installed here, but then I'm getting too far ahead of myself. That will be later on down the road. We'll talk about that when we get there. But there's a lot of planning that's gone into this, a lot of different conversations regarding how I should proceed. Here's another spot you'll see that is low-hanging fruit. This whole void right here between the frame of this hatch and the hoop is all empty. So that's an area that needed to be filled, because you're right to the roof where all the heat's hitting it in the summertime and on the top. Also, you'd have heat escaping in the wintertime, because it'd be heating up this lovely, highly thermally conductive metal surface here. And then of course the hatch is hollow, so there's a few different things that need to be done here to keep this from being just a massive heat hole both in the winter and the summer. So those are the things that are underway. I also would like to mention the health benefits of me doing this. This panel right here, the bottom of it, because of the warning lights leaking, there was not only rust in the bottom, not a major amount of rust. I was able to clean it up, treat it, and then you have really good moisture control with this rock wool insulation. So I'm not going to have any more moisture control issues. I fixed the leaks, then replaced the insulation with something that can handle fluctuations in moisture and humidity. So that's a big deal. The other insulation was not as able to handle the moisture. It was black when I pulled it out. So you can imagine what that is. I mean, the whole panel came out, that whole section just come out black. So there is, molds and mildews and things like that being removed from this bus as well. That's just improving the air quality overall. So, I don't have to worry about, off-gassing and chemicals and stuff like that in this rock wool. It's really not got much in the way of that going on. It's a very natural substance, mostly made out of rock. So as far as air quality goes, it's a pretty good choice as well, which is another reason why I chose it over the 1-part or 2-part foam. So anyways, that's what I've done here. There's a lot of wiring being pulled out where the previous owners had started different projects, and I just wanted to start with a clean slate. So there's a lot of things being removed, you know, getting repairs back to where the key start switch will be operable again instead of a push button. Like I said, all that wiring got pulled out to prepare for that so that I can actually get in there and use the full functionality of the factory equipment. So all that's going quite well, and I'll give some more updates of that once that is in place. This is more so the living conditions update. I've got a more mechanical update coming as well, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to go ahead, jump off here. This video has been long and rambly enough. I think you got the point of the progress that's been made here and how much work actually had to go into just this area, this busy section of the bus back here. I think this is going to be one of the most difficult portions of the installation. Based on the experience I got back here, I've checked a few other areas that look like they would be similar, and they're not, because they're far simpler, thankfully. Namely, the front corner. Looks like it's going to be much easier to do. So I'm going to get more efficient with it, and before I know it, this whole thing will be re-insulated and nice and quiet. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure y'all are looking forward to seeing the progress as it goes forward. So anyways, as I previously stated, long video, rambling. I'm going to jump off here. Y'all know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, I'll see y'all later.